Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So in this AFK journey video, we're going to talk about the top 5 PvE teams for the early game AFK stage push for Waves of Intrigue itself. So in today's video, other than talking about the teams, I'll also be offering some substitutes, alternatives to the team builds, as well as showcasing the teams through live battle by piloting the team myself and then explaining how the team works and where the team could work in different situations. So without further ado, let's start with the very first top 5 or the 5th position in my take, and that is the Zoo team. So the core of the Zoo team features Barrel as well as Florbell, as well as the likes of other healers to keep the unit sustained going. So why is it named a Zoo team, right? This is because Barrel will summon his silhouette, right? Florbell will summon his kits, Fresto will be able to summon a new illusion, and Damien right here is able to summon the card. So there's a bunch of units on the battlefield, and all these summons will actually benefit from the increased shielding from Florbell's EX weapon to increase their tankiness, which makes it very disruptive for certain enemy lineups. So the reason why this team is not higher is because I think this team is kind of situational. It doesn't really work on a lot of different maps where the enemies are clumped up, because Barrel's EX weapon will only proc if the enemies are far apart. So if Barrel is not summoning, then this team is going to lose a lot of power, and the core of this team would be Barrel together with Florbell, because you need Florbell's EX weapon to buff up the stats of the summons, and then you need Barrel to summon more silhouettes on the battlefield to be very disruptive to the enemies. And so this is the prime team, right, consisting of Fresto as the frontliner, Damien as well as Hewin for the sustain. You want Hewin because Hewin's heal is global, it heals every unit on the battlefield and you get a massive damage reduction. And then we have Florbell for the control as well as the EX weapon shielding, and then we have Barrel as the main DPS for the team. So that's how the team works. The other alternative you can actually sub out is one using Starshot spell together with Danny as well as Rowan. So this way, your Danny will be able to offer the frontline power as well as the control for the team, and then you'll be able to cycle through your skills pretty quickly with the Rowan combo, and then your Hewin will be able to keep the heals ongoing. As she's channeling her ultimate, Rowan will be able to recharge her energy. So the artifact of choice for the substitute for this one is with the Starshot spell, because with the Rowan plus Danny plus Hewin cycles of skill, you will be able to draw the fight to proc multiple waves of Starshot to do damage as well as debuff the enemy's attack speed. So that's why you run the debuff for this one. And another way to put it is to just play a pure Wilders version, running Danny as the frontliner for the control, our dear Damien as well as Hewin and Florbell for the 4 Wilders, and then you add in the Barrel for the Celestial Hypogene additional bonus. So this will give you a 5 unit factional bonus together with a bunch of stats as well as buff from the Verdant spell itself. So the artifact of choice for this one is Verdant spell, because for this team you have a tank, you have a warrior, you have a rogue, and you have the support. So you have multiple units from different classes to get the maximum benefit from Verdant spell. So Verdant spell also affects the summon, which gives your summon a lot more firepower. And without further ado, let's jump into the game to showcase the power of the Zoo team. So I already set up this team over here. So the positioning is as such against certain enemies where they have massive AoE, because you kind of want to split out your units to prevent them from being wiped immediately. Zoo team's major weakness, one of it is definitely AoE. So to actually reduce the damage done by AoE teams, you kind of want to split out your units. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the battle. Okay, so we'll go at one time to showcase how the team runs. So Barrel over here will summon a whole bunch of silhouette, and then this silhouette will benefit from Florbell's shielding ability. And then, right, you have Hewin's heal to actually provide for the sustain for the whole team. Massive damage reduction. So when Hewin is casting her ultimate, none of your units are dying. And then you have Florbell behind the real Fresto for the energy regen for her to spam her ultimate for the control. So control is important because you need to stun the enemy to buy more time for your other units to cycle through their skill. So Barrel will be jumping all around, right, using the ultimate to deal damage as well as summon the silhouette to disrupt the enemy. So this team, I would say, is relatively costly in a sense, because in order for you to make this team work, you need Barrel in the team, and Barrel outside of PvP and the Zoo team itself in exactly the most cost-friendly unit. So if you do invest in Barrel for just this Zoo team, right, it's going to be very costly. So it is not the most cost-efficient one. But if you happen to have Barrel because you are an arena lover, you have have a lot of resources, then you can definitely try to use this Zoo team out, right, on certain situations where you need a lot of units to flood the board, right, to disrupt the enemy and then win you the match from there. So that's for the Zoo team feature, right? Let us showcase the damage. Okay, so this is the damage distribution. The main carry will be both Barrel as well as Florbell. And with that, let us move on to the fourth team. For the fourth team, right, it's the Talon team, and as the name suggests, we are relying on Talon as the main carry. So Talon is able to do massive AoE damage, and if you are able to allow her ultimate to channel full duration, she will be able to wipe out the enemy's team and then win us the fight from there. So we are using Damien as well as Hewin for the heals and sustain for Talon's ultimate. We are using Fresto for the frontlining power. We are using Reyna to actually swap Talon over to the enemy side for the damage reduction, for the damage boost on one enemy, and also the massive heal potential from Reyna's second skill. So that's the reason why we're using Reyna. Obviously, you can don't use Reyna and maybe use the likes of Rowan for faster energy cycling as well as the potion for HP recovery. So for Fresto's case, you can obviously use other frontliners like Torrent as well as Danny, or you can use the second alternative that I offered, which is one using Eironn as well as Almas for the additional control with the support from Damien as well as Hewin for the Wilders faction, as well as the control from our dear Eironn and Almas. Additionally, Eironn is also able to apply a magical defense down on the enemy to allow Talon to hit even harder. So this is another synergy for the Wilder side. If not, if you don't have Hewin as well as Damien invested, then you can consider using Smokey as well as Coco, because they are pretty standard, I'll say, Dream Realm characters that most people would have invested. And then you can use Brutus as your frontliner in case you don't have Resto. So without further ado, let's go into the showcase, right? Let's move into the next stage. So this is the team setup. Okay, let's start the battle. So for Verdant Spell, okay, I'll run through Verdant Spell later. So Verdant Spell, I'll say it's the best artifact in terms of content pushing right now, as well as general PvE contents in general, because the buffs it provides allows your tank to hold the front line better, allows your mages, your rogue, as well as your rangers to do more damage, and allows your support, right, to heal more consistently with the increased haste. So right here, as Talon gets the energy up, she's able to start channeling her ultimate, and because you have the heals coming out from Hewin as well as Damien, and right, the heal coming out from Reyna's second skill, as you guys can see right here, right, the Talon's HP is permanently full, like she's just channeling her ultimate. And this thing is insanely strong if your enemies have no control, because this way, as long as your heal is sufficient, your Talon will be able to channel the ultimate endlessly, and then you'll just be able to slowly burn down the enemy from there. So this team, I'll say, in general, is pretty powerful as long as there's not that many controls on the enemy team, because Talon is a unit that if she's allowed to channel her skill, she just hits so hard and she kills a lot of enemies all at the same time, which is just insane. Okay, another way to make this team better is potentially putting Talon behind the energy regen Fresto to keep the uptime on Talon's ultimate, because Talon will need the energy to kickstart the ultimate, and once the ultimate starts, right, she will just use her HP once the energy empty. So later on, right, if you have this scenario where Talon's ultimate finishes, you need to recharge your energy to use it again. So consider putting her behind the energy regen Fresto to regen her energy faster. So this is the damage distribution, as you guys can see. So before I move on to the third team itself, I'll run through a little bit of Verdant Spell and explain why Verdant Spell is good for both the Zoo team as well as the Talon team. So for the Zoo team itself, Verdant Spell is able to grant a class-based buff to each hero and their summons for 5 seconds, and for each class deployed, the buff duration extends by 1 second up to 8 seconds. So this buff affects the hero as well as their summons, which is very, very beneficial for the rogue class as well as the warrior class, from Florbell as well as Barrel within the Zoo team. And then, right, when you go into the Tailing team itself, you get damage reduction for your frontliner, you get haste for your healers, and then you get the energy regen for Tailing in terms of damage output. So this is why Verdant spell is the better artifact for this one. You can also use Resonating spell, because Resonating spell also allows Tailing to charge up her energy really fast, and then the additional attack buff allows Tailing to hit even harder. So Resonating spell for the Tailing team is also okay. Now moving on to top 3. So on the third slot, we have Mauler Starshard Cycle. So this team relies on the very powerful PvE units like Coco, Smokey, as well as Odie. Odie for the damage, Smokey for the heals, buffing, as well as damage, and then Coco for the massive damage reduction and shielding. Then we have Resto on the front line, providing some backline buffs, and then Rowan there to proc all the ultimates of the unit much faster to get more cycles in from the Starshard spell. So this team is actually really good, but it has a major weakness. It doesn't have any control built in, right? So without any control, if the enemies has a bunch of control to hold your unit in place, this team is not that viable. If your enemies are just really tanky units that takes very long to finish off, this team is insanely good for that, because your enemy will be stored up by the heals from Rowan, Coco, as well as Smokey, and then as they close into the Smokey aroma, Smokey will be able to melt them down eventually with the ultimate, and because you're cycling through your skills, you will be able to damage them and debuff them with the Starshard spell. So Resto is really good together with Starshard spell, because you got 2 bodies to cast the ultimate, getting 2 charges in. And for the substitutes and alternative, if you don't have Resto, use Brutus for the frontlining power, as well as the Mauler tech. You can also use Zeeebo in the place of Rowan if you don't have Rowan invested, or your Rowan is not tanky enough to survive. Running 2 carries in the team allows you to do more damage quicker, to get OD to insta-kill people faster and get the ultimate cycling going. So this is also one way for you to proc more Starshard spell. We also have one where you run the Mauler core without OD with Rowan as well as Zeeebo to cycle through the skill to get the Starshard spell, or you can use Danny as your tank of choice with the Maulers, because Danny has control. Danny has Taunt, which will help you buy some time for your units to cycle through their skill. So these are the different alternatives, and obviously you can build around the idea of having your core Mauler units with any other units that can fit into the role that you are trying to fit. You can use Rainer as well, you can use Torrent as well, just to protect one unit. So there's a lot of different variants, but the core of this team is this 3 unit right here: Odie, Smokey, as well as Coco. So Rowan is there to just get the Starshard spell much faster. So without further ado, let's go into the team showcase. So just now, in case you guys will see later on, this is actually a later stage, because this opponent over here, or this stage over here, is basically a stage where there's no control, right? So this team is not that good against a very control centric enemy, because Smokey will be interrupted and OD gets snapped off pretty fast, right, if you control him and then you just focus fire on him. So this team is also super duper auto friendly, so I'm just going to showcase the team. Okay, so OD has a really low ultimate cost, and then right, you have Rowan to cycle through everyone's skill, and then once the supports gets their ultimate off, they basically don't die, and then you just wait for the enemies to slowly melt to your skill combos itself. So this is the Mauler team. The reason why it's not higher, it's because yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's not very good against certain matchups, like the matchup with Invound as well as Torrent is very tough to deal with. And it's also really weak to Vala. Like I realized that this team doesn't scale very well to Vala, because your core units are Maulers. So if there's a Vala or a very powerful light bearer like Tamasia on the enemy's team, it's also very troublesome. So this team is definitely one of the cheapest one, because all these units that you're investing in, they are the most commonly used PvE characters in general. So you can definitely just use this team in most scenarios if your units can do what they want, right? If they're not controlled by the enemy's team. So this is the third team, the Mauler Starshard Cycle team. Now moving to the second position, we have the Eironn-Carolina control team. So this team was previously one that features Eironn-Carolina as well as Eironn together with Torrent. But with Alma's addition into the team, you now have a better control-centric tank that can transit to a backline control unit, which makes this control team even better. So the most standard way to run it is with Starshot spell together with Carolina as well as Ardent for the carrying potential, and with Aldir Eironn for the control as well as the repositioning and synergy with Almas right here. So you can obviously swap out Damien for the likes of our dear Rowan for more skill cycling to proc through your Starshot spell. You can also use Torrent in the place of Almas in case you don't have Almas, and you link Torrent to Eironn to protect Eironn a little bit better. So this is the previous iteration of this team. This team over here, this one they're moving. This was the previous iteration, and this is the upgraded version with Almas into the mix. If not, you can use this one, right? Taking out our dear Damien for Rowan. You will still get your 3 Wilders bonus, so you lose a little bit of stats, but you are able to cycle through your Starshot spell. So this team could be a little bit better in some situations. And then we also have the Tamasia variant, where you run Tamasia together with the 3 Maulers, and then you add in a Rowan for your 3-2 factional bonus. So this is one variant as well. I featured this team in my channel, this Tamasia Eironn Almas control, because Tamasia has a knockdown effect which procs Almas's EX weapon if you have Almas with the EX weapon. Or you can just run a full damage dealer team with Lily May with just full out damage without any sustain if you want to nuke down the enemies as fast as possible. So this team is probably, I'll say, like the strongest team right now, if not for the very first position, which I'm going to explain later on. So this team is probably the strongest in a lot of situations because the control that this team has to offer allows you to actually win most matches without your enemies even moving by an inch. So for this team itself, there is some modifications because against certain units with the revive as well as the inbound status, you will need the likes of Odie as well as Skalita. So for this one, we will be running Skalita. I'll be manualing this one because I tried a few team variants with this stage, but because Torrent as well as Rotas is just super duper annoying together. So what we are going to do is we're going to use Almas as the frontliner, and then Skalita is able to provide for some shielding, and then we use this, and then we use this. Okay, so for this one, we're taking out Carolina. Okay, we're going to pull everyone together. So we're going to control Skalita's ultimate because we need Skalita to remove the Torrent. Yeah, we don't want the Torrent to stay alive for too long. So this way you can see us just rooting the enemy, right? So now the enemies are in the air. What we're going to do is we're going to put them closer together. Okay, proc the Starshot spell so we get them really low, control them in place, and then smack them. Okay, so once they right here, unfortunately the enemy nuked down me. so we're gonna restart. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna use Rowan instead. Yeah, so this is a little bit for this stage specifically. I had to manual it because of how the enemy function, because we have Brutus that hits pretty hard if you don't do anything to him, and then we have Torrent with the ability to revive. So I think where you pull the enemy with Eironn is not that important, but you kind of want to have as many units within the Damien as well as Rowan influence as possible. So right here, we're going to pull all of them together, root them all nice. We're going to put them in, then Skalita's going to land and stun them. So we're going to hold our Almas ultimate a little bit so as to not stack on the stuns. And then we're going to use our dear Almas to stun them. Okay, the Ardent's going to use a skill. Okay, so we're still rooting the enemy. Really nice stuff. I kind of want to use Skalita's ultimate, but Skalita's ultimate is to remove our dear Torrent. So we're going to do this. Cycle through. Pull everyone together. Okay, and then we're going to slam out Torrent over here. Okay, bring out the Torrent. Go out. Okay, nice. So we're only left with Brutus, and I think we can just auto this stage. So this is the power of control. You just control and root the enemies together, and then you swap out units in the different slots to solve your situation. So the most common team setup for this control variant is with Carolina, because Carolina is an insanely good control unit with a freeze as well as massive magical damage. So I'll say like this slot is flexible. I think you can switch out with whatever units you need. For the Rowan slot, you can also swap out for Damien. There are certain situations where Damien is a little bit better if you need more heals, but right now the higher deficit you are, the more reliant you are on the Starshot spell proc. So Starshot spell turns out to be still one of the best early game artifact in terms of content pushing. So Rowan being able to provide for the very fast ultimate cycling to proc through this artifact is insanely powerful. So that's it for the second team, and let us move on to the strongest PvE content pushing team. Let's go. And to nobody's surprise, the top one team once again is Smoky team, and Smoky is back with Starshot spell once again. So some of you guys might be questioning, hey Zeeb, aren't we in the new season? Why are we still using Starshot spell? So before we talk about the team itself, this team is very manual centric. I'll talk about it as I showcase later on, because you need to manually reposition to optimize Smoky's damage. But if you take a look at the artifact stats, right, from level 10 to level 14, the stats that's provided by the seasonal artifact is good, right? But it's not that good enough to make up for the insane ability of Starshot spell, because the stat that Starshot spell provide is haste and HP, so it's a little bit lower compared to the seasonal artifact. But this ability that Starshot spell has to deal true damage as well as reduce the enemy's attack speed for you to survive better is just so good that in the early game, right, Starshot spell is still one of the best artifacts. Sometimes you will still see people using confining spell because the ability of this artifact outweighs the lack of stats. So this is why a lot of the top teams that I recommended earlier use a Starshot spell. So Verdant spell is the best for your general content push, but for some of the most manual centric team or top end teams itself, Starshot spell is still the best artifact in the early game. So this will change in the mid to late game, which I'll make a separate video for. So for this Smoky team right here, we have the reposition ability of Eironn, the control capability of Eironn and Almas together with Arden. We also have additional damage from Arden, and then obviously the star of the show, Smoky, for the heals, for the buffs, as well as the damage output. So we throw Rowan in for the additional sustain as well as cycling through the skills for more Starshot procs, for faster Smoky ultimate. This is a very manual centric team. I'll explain why. And right, if you have Lumon, right, you can throw in Lumon for additional control. You can change Lumon out for Arden, right? You can take out Arden, put in Lumon, and then you use Rowan. So that way you lose a little bit of stats because there's no factional bonus, but you get faster skill cycling and you get more control from Lumon, right? Lumon is also able to reposition the enemy by dragging them with the ultimate. So this is one way for you to manual as well. And if you have some enemies, right, like for example Torrent, for example Eagle, for example Brutus, that is immune to the insta massive damage from Smoky, you can put in Skalita and then you manual Skalita's ultimate to send them out with the insta Q ability. So this is where you put in a Skalita here. And if you just need more heals for the team, you can just run heal win and just rely on the control and reposition of Eironn and Almas to eventually reach the third ultimate of Smoky. So this is the Smoky team in general, and this team is one of those teams that can rely on the new artifact known as the resonating artifact. So this positioning is also for you to use the resonating artifact, because Rowan will be the resonator to get the energy to cycle through the ultimate ASAP. So you can also use resonating artifact from time to time, which is this one. So you need to position to the rearmost ally, so that formation is allowing Smoky to be the rearmost ally. But in most cases we are still running Starshot spell for the true damage, just additional damage proc as well as the debuff. So let us run the battles to show you guys how this team works. So you have to actually, okay, first of all, this team is actually really manual intensive, but once you get the hang of it, it's super duper easy. So we're gonna put Eironn because I need Eironn to survive. Yeah, I think there's a record. Yeah, there's a record here. So let's start the battle. Okay, so I have to manual this because if I don't manual this, what will happen is my Eironn will be too far off from Rowan's ultimate, which reduces Rowan ultimate efficiency. So we're gonna go at one time because we have to manual a lot of stuff. So usually for me, I will manual these 3 units ultimate because the positioning of the ultimate to benefit as many units as possible is super duper important. For example, this one. So sometimes I will manual 4 together with Almas as well. I don't recommend that because it's pretty tiring. Okay, so this one we lost. Okay, against this enemy that I guess you need to actually play a little bit better in terms of your control. So we're gonna do this. Okay, oh, I didn't pull the morale in, unfortunately, but I think it's fine. Okay, and then Rowan should be using the ultimate in the middle. Do I get the ultimate on Eironn? Yeah, we got the ultimate on Eironn. Very nice stuff. Pull all the units together. Oh shit, I missed the morale once again, unfortunately. Okay, but I think it's fine. We should still be able to reach our Lumon ultimate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Lumon's ultimate to drag the enemy away from Smokey and then taunt them so that they're all within Smokey's ultimate. So right here, Smokey's ultimate go through. Okay, my other units died, so unfortunately for me, I have to restart this one. So this team is so good that it allows you to bypass certain stages which you're not even supposed to because of the massive damage potential from Smokey's ultimate. Okay, I think I'll just manual Rowan's ultimate. I think Rowan's ultimate should be able to cover all the 3 units that are important, which are Lumon, Smokey, as well as Eironn. Okay, so Tamasia managed to go through, unfortunately, but I think it's fine. Just pull the enemies in, hold them in place. Okay, so Armors will throw the rock at the place with the most enemy. Okay, Smokey's ultimate go through. We have the Starshot spell going through as well. So Lumon for additional control. Okay. Unfortunately, Eironn died there. Okay, unfortunately, we have to restart. Okay. So this is one of the third attempts. Let's group everyone together once again. Okay. Do this, do this, do this. I think I can auto Rowan's ultimate. I just need Rowan to keep the enemies in place. I might even have to manual Armor's ultimate so to not let the stun stack up too much. I'm gonna pull them in. Closer into Smokey's cloud. Okay, root them, nice. So right here, Lumon just stunned, so we threw Armor's ultimate now. Okay, nice, nice, nice. Okay, nice. Gonna pull everyone in with Lumon's ultimate. Pull everyone in. Oh no, we didn't pull everyone in, unfortunately, but it's fine. We got the ultimate off from Smokey. You could pull them in to get the control on them. Okay, and then I think we are good to go. Yeah, we're good to go. Control them. Pam, 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 and then we finish the match. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Very, very manual intensive. This is definitely the best comp right now, even with some controls introduced. So if you want to have the fastest AFK stage pushing experience, this is currently the best team in the early game stage of Waves of Intrigue itself. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more AFK journey videos from this channel. See you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!